Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our latest Black Tides event. Building your career as a woman in tech. If you all can hear me, if I can get some indication, raise your hand. I'm not sure what they changed the icons you can use. Okay, fantastic. Looks like we have some of our speakers are raising their hand to acknowledge that they can hear me. We have Kris Smith, we have Kierra Dotson, and Rhonda Manns. This is going to be co-hosted or co-moderated with Sia, who's our operations strategic person for Black Tides. Again, welcome everyone and thank you for joining us. Sia, you can take it away. It looks like Sia is having some technical difficulties here, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Kimberly. I am the co-founder of Black Tides. And again, welcome to this Women's History Month event, Building Your Career as a Woman in Tech and Data. We've been very fortunate to be joined by some very courageous, professional, highly skilled, highly educated women who are doing their thing in tech. I say courageous because I feel that personally, my biggest obstacle or my biggest challenge, I should say, is being a woman in tech. It's extremely challenging, very difficult, but I'm still here 30 years later, so we're going to keep making it do what it do. Okay, so I'm going to start with some introductions. Kris, you can feel free to mute yourself just briefly. Kris is a sports analyst. She considers herself a storyteller. She is from Baltimore and residing in Atlanta. Kris, do you want to take it away and go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, most definitely. So first of all, good evening. I'm excited to see all of the melanin popping in the room. Um, as stated, I'm born and raised originally from Baltimore, Maryland, currently in Atlanta. I consider myself transitioning from a technologist, as I've been in the tech industry 12 years, going into sports data analyst slash data driven storyteller. I'm really fascinated with intersecting, fan insights and player insights, but really telling the stories from a data perspective. I have a BA in psychology from the Real HU, Hampton University, MBA in management of technology from Georgia Tech, and I'm currently pursuing my master's, graduating this spring from the University of Mississippi with an MS in sports analytics. So I'm excited to be here. And I guess I'll say my superhero power is that I'm a former Apple genius. So I know a lot about the Apple ecosystem. So excited for y'all to be here, and I'm excited to be on this panel.
Thank you, Kris. Sia is also a sports fanatic, so maybe you two should get together and talk sports. She's a huge WNBA fan. We want to send our prayers out. Her mind slips my mind right now, but the young lady who is unfortunately being held in Russia.
Yep, Brittany Griner.
Prayers.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Rhonda. Rhonda is our next speaker. She is a senior capability manager. She was recognized by LinkedIn as a leader in nursing, and she is a highly educated, highly successful registered nurse. Rhonda, you want to take it away and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world today. So glad to be here. Thank you so much for that tee up. And I'm really excited to be a part of this panel. As you mentioned, I'm a registered nurse, but I've recently transitioned into product management role. I have a unique position because obviously crossing out of healthcare into technology was one of my biggest accomplishments. One that I'm both proud of, and I hope to support others in their transition as well by leveraging, your existing career into your future goals. My position is also a little bit unique in that even though it's mostly product, I get to sit in and help to drive a lot of data implementations, database creations, and data transformation. I look forward to learning from everybody here. And one of my future goals is actually to get into data science. I hope to learn machine learning soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rhonda. And last on our speakers panel is Kierra. Kierra is a member of Black Ties. She is also an amazing contributor to Twitter as it relates to all things tech and data. She is a business analyst. She has experience as a consultant, engineering, content creator. Kierra, you want to take it from there and share the rest of your gifts with our audience tonight?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I am Kierra. I am currently actually a BI developer, which is a hybrid between a data analyst and a data engineer. by day. And then, of course, by night, I run the data block, which is basically my career coaching services. I use to help people that want to transition into data, or also if they're seasoned data professionals, I help them with that as well. I have been in tech full time, I would say, since 2017. I did graduate in 2017 with my bachelor's in computer science and a minor in sociology, and I've done a bunch of different internships before that, and I've also worn many different hats and many different roles that are data and non-data related since then. Um, so yes, that's a bit about me. Did I have to say something about like a superpower or something like that? I couldn't remember. Sorry.
I think that was Thea's creation, but yes, please share.
Oh yeah, my superpower is just being able to adapt very quickly to different roles. Just because, like I said, once again, I wear many different hats, so I can pick up a tool very quickly.
All right, and so I'll add that I think that my superpower is just being here. And that may sound ludicrous, facetious, any other type of word, but it actually is the truth. Like I said, it's been a lot of peaks and valleys, and I'm very fortunate and blessed to be in a place right now where it's mostly peaks. But there was an experiment, I don't know if anyone saw it, it was on LinkedIn, and it showed that when you have peaks and valleys through anything, you actually get to your destination a little faster. Did anyone see that? I'm trying to figure out the physics of how that actually worked. So a person had a ball, they just let it go down an incline and it went at a certain speed, but then they had another ball and it had peaks and valleys, like ups and downs. And so the analogy was that ups and downs kind of make you who you are. They help elevate you to more success. So my superpower would be, I guess if I had a word for it, to say tenacity. So just being here. All right, so now I want to talk a little bit about how each of the ladies who are speaking tonight, myself included, how did you pivot into this tech data career? It sounds like most of us, actually sounds like all of us actually came from other fields. So Kierra, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you were trained in and then how you used that to pivot into a tech data career?
Yes. So my start was I actually stumbled upon data and didn't know it at the time. So, and this actually happened through my last internship, actually at Visa. I joined on as something called a learning technologist. They used a very vague term for the role. I thought that I was going to go in programming and helping to help stand up the learning analytics department for that company or that organization. And they had me actually doing a lot of traditional or old school data engineering work. And then they introduced something called Tableau to me. So I got to build out all these pretty charts in this random tool. and and they didn't say anything about data analytics or anything of that time. All we knew was that we were passing in something called learning statements into some giant like database platform. And so that's how I actually pivoted in. I actually ended up leaving the industry because I didn't know that that I was in a data specific role. I thought I was supposed to be programming every day. And then I actually had to stumble back into it a couple of years later at doing learning analytics in another org. So sometimes there'll be a time where you'll stumble upon something and you might not know exactly what it is. And then you go back later and say, oh, that's what that was. And that just is a matter of happening to stumble upon the right terminology at the right time. And that happens quite often in tech.
Thank you, Kierra. I think you hit on a really great point that there are a lot of similarities between a lot of different fields, especially if those fields just involve tech generally. For the most part, anything you do in tech, so whether it's you're a biologist or a chemist or a computer scientist, is going to involve data at some point. So it's really fantastic how you were able to leverage that. Yes, Kris, would you like to tell us how you made that pivot or transition?
Yeah. So fun fact, I've actually been around sports data all of my life. My late father was a really well-known coach, in my hometown. He coached on the high school level and the college level. So when I think about even as my youngest age is around 6 and 8, he would be writing stuff on a spreadsheet. And it would be stats from players. I remember him, and I spending quality time, and we would be going to watch players and scouting, and he would be writing things down about players. And then when I got to high school, I kind of started doing the same thing. I worked with my athletic director for a few years, and I was able to really help him with sports communication and explaining data and all the stuff in the box scores that had to go to the paper. And then just even currently for the last, I'll say going on 8 seasons now, I've actually been working with the Baltimore Ravens. I run an official fan club here in Atlanta, like, which is called Ravens Nation South. It's basically a fan club for Ravens fans here in Atlanta. So like, we got to give them numbers too. They want fan data, like, how many fan members we have in the fan club, all that stuff. So for me, I don't feel like it was a real transition. And this is kind of something I spoke to Kierra about. And I know this is not the time to plug, but and I'm trying to keep this clean because I have a potty mouth, but I have a good relationship with Jesus. But she's the truth. But in conversation from that, I've always been around sports data like all of my life. So it wasn't really like a transition. It was like a awakening for me and like coming home to something familiar, if that makes any sense, because I've always been in tech, but it wasn't really like a hard path for me because this is something that I've previously done like all of my life. I've went back to my high school after I graduated from Hampton and was coaching. So on our team, my role was actually the sports statistician and the assistant coach. So like, I've really been doing this all of my life. And it's just kind of, just looking at it from a 360 perspective, like, well, damn, like I really have been doing this all of my life and I didn't realize it or recognize it. So yeah, like really it's been like kind of all of my life, but kind of just getting to this point now, we're seeing it as an opportunity and just kind of embracing it. So that's kind of a little bit about my story.
Thank you. And let me apologize in advance I live in the Washington, D.C. area, so I will allow you, since you're a speaker, to say that Hampton is the real HU, but I'm just saying the folks up here in the DMV, I got to represent.
Well, see, I look at it like this because I got to say this real quick because, I'm a Baltimore girl. So Baltimore is not in the DMV, folks. I know we in Maryland. We our own city and state. I just wanted to say that for the record and for the people in the back so I can understand what she's saying. If nobody else got that joke, I got it. So, yeah, that's cool, I mean, but the teacher's college was good. I'd rather be an institute than the teacher's college, but we can talk about that all day.
See, and it's all about the HBCU love in the house. So we're going to keep that on 100. Okay, so Rhonda, would you like to tell us a little bit about how you pivoted or how you, as Kris said, you just turned around and looked the other direction and there the data career was. It was there and what's that phrase that people say? Something is, you know what, move on. Go ahead, Rhonda, take it away.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So for me, the transition or like the entry point was a little bit different. At the time, I was a ER nurse, and I just recognized that it was getting harder and harder to kind of remain at the bedside, and really kind of like to what Kris mentioned about just bringing your natural talents, like finding a career space for your natural talents. I wanted to teach and instruct others in healthcare so that they can do their best job in reaching others. So I realized, like, having been in the industry for so long, I was just ready to move on to something different. So I transitioned out of the ER bedside role into teaching nurses software. I was traveling around the nation doing like go lives and implementations. And I kind of spoke with my mentor, who is actually a Black woman with over 25 years of experience. She's been with Microsoft. She's a SharePoint architect. And I just kind of shared a little bit about like where I wanted to go in my career because I was completely lost, but I wanted to do something new. So she told me that I should start focusing on one or two things. She mentioned either SQL or Salesforce. So I just kind of tossed the coin and went with SQL. I found a local boot camp. And it's funny, Kris, we didn't talk about this, but I recently moved from Atlanta to Houston. And I wish that I would have gotten more embedded in the tech scene there in Atlanta before I left. But nevertheless, I linked up with some people at a boot camp and I absolutely loved it. I love SQL. It was about a lot of database, like query writing and making sense of the data, right? Because there's like data everywhere. But if you can actually pull in and observe different trends and display the data, it just opened up a whole new world for me. So one interesting thing about that was I remember back in like early 2000s, I tried to learn HTML. And it was really frustrating for me. I couldn't understand it because it was like a language, but yet SQL, I would sit up with my laptop at midnight just writing queries. I mean, I just loved it. So with that said, I tried to find a way to use that SQL knowledge in healthcare and started to look for like companies that needed someone with clinical experience and also like data related skills. And for me, that's kind of how it started. So I transitioned the industry for me, like in short, the software implementation industry shut down overnight. I took another job. I was really kind of bored in that role. I reached out to my manager and I said, look, this is what I want to do. I want to get involved with more like strategy and forward thinking things. And she connected me with someone else in product. And I didn't even know what product was at the time. I thought product was actually building products, not necessarily what product management was. Made a couple of good connections and actually got offered a senior business analyst role. And so I worked on clinical documentation. And here's how things go full circle. Kim, my mentor, she told me to start with SQL and Salesforce. Well, when I took the senior BA role, I was working on Salesforce Classic for a Salesforce Classic to Lightning implementation. I had system admin rights and I got to do a lot of cool stuff behind the scenes, then became product owner and whatnot. So for me, it was like a leap, a pivot, but honestly, I'm so blessed and fortunate to be in this role because ultimately what I want to do is I want to be like that clinical thought leader who speaks to software development teams and like for business systems, just to make things kind of, fresh and new and bring a different dynamic to the scene. So thanks.
Thank you, Rhonda. That is a fabulous story. Little small fact about me. I used to live in Houston. I worked at MD Anderson for a little while. I started off at UT Houston in informatics and then ended up transferring to Rutgers, and I'll be finishing this summer. So this is a very small world. If y'all don't understand anything else about, if you don't get any other takeaways from tonight, networking is everything, and it's a small world. There it is. Okay, Sia, would you like to share your story? Looks like you're back on. Oh, let me make you a speaker, Sia, so you can share your story of how you pivoted. And actually, I'll make you a co-host again, so hopefully you get the invite real soon. Also want to recognize our other Black Tides members. We have Ashley, who is our lead data analytics professional, and we also have Dr. Blankenson, who is, I think she's our social sciences lead. She also teaches R. She's a professor, all around fabulous group of women working with Black Tides. Looks like Sia has accepted, and you can take it away, Sia.
Hi. Sorry, there is this lag. There was this like 2 minutes or seconds before you can actually click anything. And thank you, because I have an Android, and apparently Androids are not good with Twitter Spaces. This is fun. The question you asked, my story. I think I started out with, I was coming here to finish a biology degree because I was supposed to be a doctor. I'm an African kid, so, we only have 4 careers, and I was on one of them. But then I came here, and then I learned how sports is very, it's very big. You can live a career in sports. So then I switched over to math and I studied statistics. I also did a writing degree because my English was not this good, so that I could, so that nobody would use it as an excuse. Honestly, I can say it was half out of spite, but it worked out. And then I ended up at a global mobility company. That's how I started out. Looking back, I'm lucky because I was able to start working in data right out of school, out of necessity, because nobody wanted to try and set up reports or write SQL or make some small automations that would make manual work disappear. So that's how I got my start. I started looking into those things and learned on the side and slowly built up to this point. So it's not a very, there's no movie, but yeah, it's been fun so far. And also I want to thank you to all the speakers who have showed up so far. And all the listeners. I see some familiar people, some really great sponsors, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sia. Okay, so I think I want to ask another question, just a really basic question. So we talked about, everyone kind of gave a little bit about their background, but for people that are looking to do what we have done, what language or languages would you suggest a person start with if they're looking to transfer into a data career, tech career? Oh, you know what? And before you answer that question, we have a longtime supporter of Black Tides, of Black women in data, of women in data, all the things. Her Twitter name is Dikayo Data, and I'd like to take a moment to have her introduce herself. Like I said, she's been a longtime supporter of everything that we've done. Unfortunately, I haven't had a moment to. I've been busy with other things, trying to, get involved with some of the things you're doing. But as soon as I wrap up this PhD, I'll be looking to work with you one-on-one on something really great. Dikayo Data, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about how you got into data to our audience. And thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, yeah, I'm basically just here because in excitement, like I thought I was gonna miss this space, and then I was so excited that I clicked speaker, and then I'm like, wait, I'm not on the panel. Like, what's going on? But I wasn't thinking. I was thinking that I would be listening to the recording and that I wouldn't be talking to you live. So I'm very excited to be here, and thank you, for having this, because I was genuinely pissed that I had scheduled something at the same time as this. So yay. Yeah, I'm friends with a lot of y'all. So hi to every awesome person here that we know. I am Danielle. My name is Danielle. I made Dikayo Data out of my initials, Danielle Karani Oberdier, and it is a podcast about, DataFem is the name of the podcast, hashtag DataFem. And I really, I focus on highlighting the work of women in data. And even if it's not somebody like when Arlen Hamilton, I got the opportunity to interview her. She's not a data scientist, but I mean, hello, and she spoke about venture capital and everything. And I was fangirling like a crazy person. But it's really to just show off who's doing the best work in data. And most of the people who I think are doing the best work in data are in this room right now. So it's really cool to be here and see that, because that my basically this podcast is by us for us, and then the media surrounding, I do blogs and tutorials and Our Lady's NOLA, and just a bunch of other ventures for dkayodata.com. But DataFem is the podcast, and I'd love, if I haven't had you on here, I would love to.
Thank you, Danielle, for sharing. One of the things I think is really important for us as women in these data careers is to, as much as we can, celebrate, and more than that, elevate each other. It's super, super important, because we're in these unique spaces where we are anywhere from 1% to 5% of the workforce. Can be really, really tough. So anytime we have an opportunity to celebrate each other, to share, stories for success and for longevity, I think we have an obligation to each other to do that. So thank you for joining and for sharing. Now I want to get back to the question of what were your first, or what would you suggest? So there was the languages that I started with. I was married to a software engineer who suggested I start with Java. Unless you really hate someone, do not tell anyone to start a data career with Java. So let me just put that out there right now. What I would suggest, and I think Rhonda mentioned this, she started with SQL. I would actually suggest, especially if you're in a healthcare space, starting with SQL and starting with Excel, mastering both, and then building from there. So I'm going to go around the room to all of our speakers and find out which they would suggest. Kierra, I see your name first. I'm listed here. Do you want to share what language you would suggest newbies learn first?
Yeah, sure, of course. So, I mean, it depends on which data role that you want to see yourself in first. SQL, I'm going to always say SQL is the first language that you need to know. It is the language of data. At this point, it's really hard. It's probably impossible to find a job listing that doesn't require SQL. So, and you're going to need to know it at some point later down the line. So I recommend actually learning SQL. If you're going a course if you see yourself as being more technical, going into like a data scientist or like machine learning engineering role, I would definitely say that you should probably pick up Python, mainly because it's a general purpose language that has a ton of support for a lot of data libraries. And then it also helps you in the case that you decide that you want to pivot later on to a non-data related technical role, such as, general like software engineering or like website, web development or things of that nature.
Sounds good. Kris, you want to tell us what you would suggest a newbie to, some suggestions for a person that's new to data?
Yeah, so if you're looking to get into sports analytics and even sports, data visualization, which is really what I'm trying to do, understanding, Google Sheets and Excel is very, very needed. What's funny is that I did that in my MBA program, but sometimes when you start to reach up in age, you forget stuff. And so, you got to do some refreshers, but really thinking about that. And then thinking about, data visualization platforms, thinking about Tableau, Power BI. I mean, there's a lot on the market, but more so really looking at that. And I'm going to even say one that's probably what people not even thinking, Canva. Like Canva, Adobe Illustrator as well. I know that's not a language, but it is speaking the language of visualization. I would say those tools will be important, but more so, as you get into things and stuff like that with data visualization, you do need to know Google Sheets or Excel. Of course, you need to know Python and SQL, SQL. But for the most part, most of those won't come until a later point for data visualization, but you need to at least know how to clean data. You need to know how to actually, do your pivot tables, all that stuff. So to me, for data visualization and sports analytics, like you definitely need to know how to do, Google Sheets or Excel, hands down.
Fantastic. Rhonda. So Rhonda, you answered with SQL. Is there anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah. So yeah, everyone said pretty much anything I would have said, and I'll just top it to say, if you feel adventurous and courageous and you really want to stretch, then R is something that's also out there in the industry. It's along the line of data visualization and databasing, and I just think that you can't go wrong with SQL, because no matter what we do in terms of AI and ML and all kind of cool things that we're going to do, right? Web 3.0 and all these things, it doesn't matter, because at some point you're going to need to know how, like Kris said, you're going to need to know how to like clean and examine data, and databases are always going to be around. It doesn't matter how far we progress, database is going to be the key. Thanks.
Excellent point. That's why I suggested SQL. Just want to add one other last comment. So there's a lot of different theories out there about how you should start. And I think that if you have a computer science background, you probably can kind of skip to the front of the line when it comes to this progression of data careers. And when I say progression, I mean that in my own career, I literally started as I've done data entry, it was data coordinator, then a data analyst, then a data scientist, and now an informaticist. So for me, coming from a non-IT background, it was beneficial for me to kind of take all of the steps. I think if you have a computer science background, you could probably just, take a couple of boot camps, couple of certificates, some courses, and maybe jump straight to data scientist. Generally speaking, though, I probably don't advise it. And the reason is because a lot of the skills that you learn as a data scientist, as a data analyst, provide the foundation for making you a great data scientist. What I see sometimes are people who are really great at the data science part, but not so great at some of the more basic data analytics things. So what do I mean by that? I mean, just make a graph in Excel. If all you've done is the more advanced things like, machine learning and stuff, and you go one day and someone needs you to put together a graph with the CSV in 10 minutes, you can do that really super quickly in Excel, but not if you don't know Excel. So probably some different opinions on that. And we could probably come back to that if you guys want to, have some discussion or debate about what is best. But now I'm going to turn it over to Sia. She has some questions that we had that were prepared to ask of each of our speakers, to give them more time to have the floor, since they were so gracious with their time to join us today. So Sia, you can take it away with the questions.
Okay, hi. So Kris, you had your hand up, and you can keep it up because you're the first one. So you, we connected because you also like sports. And you have made this path where you're not necessarily working for anyone, you just want to be working for yourself. Can you talk about how you got to that point and how you're able to sustain that?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm all pro for people getting their coin and getting their bag in whatever way feels possible for you, whether that's a 9 to 5 or whether that's entrepreneurship. I had to make that disclaimer because there are a lot of people who frown on 9 to 5s. I don't do that at all. I think 9 to 5s are a great stepping stone and everybody has their own paths. For me, I like the freedom of being able to control more of my schedule. And I think that's just coming from experience of me not having that in corporate. It's going back to the conversation about being in technology and just the positions and being a Black woman in tech and always having to fight for this and fight for that. And it just, all of the situations that I had been in previously, except for Apple, were not great situations. So it kind of turned me off from 9 to 5 opportunities. But now when I'm looking at things now, there's a lot of opportunities for collaboration, as a freelancer or as an entrepreneur, especially in the data visualization space. And I say that specifically, and sometimes I'll say data analyst too, but specifically in sports. It's sports analytics is very, I'm not going to say it's new because it's been around for years, but it's starting to become more of a proprietary need for sports franchises when they're thinking about making decisions on the court or on the field and off the court and off the field. So for me, I really like the freedom that I have, and I can also propose myself as a consultant if need be. Like I'm here locally in Atlanta, and I've looked at the Atlanta Hawks have great analytics, but the Atlanta Dream don't really have any. So how could I propel my relationship with that? I know some people that know Renee Montgomery. I could say, hey, can I get a meeting with her? You know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. But for me, I really like, the freedom that it gives. And once again, it's nothing against working a 9 to 5, but I've been able to sustain from projects, and then just other sources of income, which has actually kept me afloat, not only during the pandemic, but beyond. I've been grateful for that because everybody can't say the same. But yeah, all of that has kind of kept me afloat, and I hope to continue some of that. I know Kierra was like, yeah, we need to look at some jobs. I was like, okay, I'll look into it. But other than that, I'm content with where I am for right now.
All right. If anyone knows Angel McCarthy or Renee Montgomery or who is still at the Dream, because they kind of like the half of the team is gone now, but please reach out. And you're also doing a master's in sports analytics, right? Do you want to plug yourself for that? Because that is huge. Not a lot of people have that.
Yeah, this is actually one of the newer programs on the market. I'm a big proponent of education. So if anybody wants to talk to me about it, my DMs are open. Just slide appropriately. As long as you don't come at me crazy, I'm a real Baltimore girl. I will block you real quick in the name of Jesus. So as long as we clear about that, it's all good. But yeah, the program is at the University of Mississippi, aka Ole Miss. They decided to do the program because they saw a need in the sports space based on the data science field and data analytics field. There are not that many sports analytics master's programs that are online. This program is 100% remote. It is 1 year, but and the cost for tuition is not that expensive because it's a newer program. But the faculty have great research experience. A lot of them, if you go to Google Scholar, for people who do research, I know what I'm talking about. You can find a lot of the faculty from the program that have articles, scholarly articles written in sports business, sports marketing, predictive modeling. One of my professors, actually, he is working on an NIL project. I'm trying to do some research with him this summer, or possibly TA for him during summer classes, even though I'll be graduating because I want to keep the relationship with him. But yeah, like if you got any questions about that program, like I said, I graduated in May. It's been great. I do feel like I've been a guinea pig, and I'm okay with that because now what's going to happen is that the feedback my cohort has given is that it's going to propel the next cohorts going forward. So I am going to be in the first inaugural graduating class in this May, but I can answer any question about the sports analytics program. It was a great decision for me. And I think that I want a lot more Black women in the space. This is no shade to my allies because there are a lot of allies in the space, which I appreciate because I basically, I had applied for an opportunity recently didn't get it. But the fact that the guy was an ally and I reached out and I asked him a question and said, hey, can you tell me why I didn't get this? I know this is my experience. And he's from a very reputable news analysis company. And he didn't have to take the opportunity to do that. But I say that because, you know, when you look at the makeup of a lot of these, you know, sports analytic companies, or even when you look at the data visualization ones, there are not a lot of us in there. And I'm really keen and big on that now, to the point where I'm partnering with a HBCU to try to get stuff in their curriculum. Like, hey, this is going to be the thing when it comes to School of Business, when it comes to analytics. And like, we got to make some changes from the curriculum, and it starts here. But anybody that got questions about Ole Miss, like, I can answer anything you want. I'm a truth teller. I don't sugarcoat nothing. It's probably going to be a curse word or something in there in that conversation. So, you know, just put on your bunny ears. If you got kids, Miss Kris love the kids, but I'm gonna be honest. It's been a great program, but there are some things, you know, that I would advise as far as prep. But like, yeah, like this semester, you know, you've worked on projects and stuff like that, like everything. And I'm putting all that shit on my LinkedIn. Trust me when I say that. But for the most part, there's a lot of opportunities in the program. It is 1 year. It's a great program. A lot of people are working 9 to 5s, or a lot of people are, you know, entrepreneurs or things of that nature. But it's a great, great program. And you can minor in, sports business or sports performance, which are great. If you're doing a sports performance route, you can go into, you know, dealing with draft stuff and combine stuff. There's so many opportunities, and the network is really big. So, got any questions, please don't hesitate to at me, DM me, all that stuff. But thank you, Sia, for plugging that, because I think it's a great program. And it's not a lot of us in the program too. By the way, I think I'm one or two Black women in this program in the first cohort. So that says something too. So yeah.
Thank you. That was great. Sports Analytics Lab as well. I already told you about this one, Kris, but yeah, I can't wait. I know I'm just going to see you somewhere doing something and get free tickets. So keep doing that. So Kierra and Wanda, you both, actually all three of you, since we were talking about people who do their own thing, you are all having to do your own thing and like wearing many hats. And I know, Kierra, you really wanted to talk about this. So if you could start with how you kind of manage that, how it's gone, the pros and cons, everything in between, and then Rhonda.
Yeah, so I can definitely speak about wearing many hats, since I've been doing this for a while now. And I say that in the sense of, yeah, y'all might want to get some snacks or something, because I can talk. But so yeah, so this actually all started in the beginning of when I decided to go to school for computer science. Mainly because I had no idea what it was. All I knew was that it was huge as hell, and I kind of wanted to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. Mainly because I was in it for the money, and I was like, if I'm gonna be here, I might as well find something I enjoy so I don't burn out. So that's why I held 3 different internships during college, and majority of those internships I actually held them through past the summertime into like fall and spring semesters, just so I can really get an understanding of whatever that role was. So that first started with, of course, me working for a government contracting company in their research and development department. I learned full stack engineering there, as well, or web development, as well as Android app development there. They operated like a small startup, and that's what allowed me to learn so many different tools and technologies in that role. And I also liked that they worked as a startup, because it gave me more opportunity to really advance myself and set myself apart from my peers, especially since I went to UT Austin, which is like one of the top schools in the world for computer science. So I definitely had to do something to make myself stand out, considering the fact that I was going to school with a lot of people who literally had been coding since they were like literally kids. Like one of my old friends from college, he his dad told him he wouldn't buy him an iPhone until he actually built an iPhone app and released it on the app store when he was like a teen. So that's what I'm talking about. And he did release the app. So and he released another app during that time in college, and I had to help beta test it. So that's really what I was up against. So I was like, yeah, let me really just get my shit together while I'm here and really study and hone in on all these skills that I need for the real world. So from there, I actually went to go to do some web design for a small furniture store in Austin, Texas. That was where I really decided that I did not like CSS. CSS was not my friend, but I was glad that I did that anyways, just because, like I said, I knew that then was not for me, and I wouldn't get pigeonholed into that later on. And then, of course, that last internship was data analytics. Also, even though it was at Visa, this huge corporation, we worked as a literal startup there as well, mainly because I was literally only one of two data analysts on the team, and then the rest of the other people were instructional designers who actually created curriculum for the internal education content for the organization. So that's why I also was like an architect at the same time, and that's also why I was also a data engineer, having to create pipelines and things of that nature. And when I say it was like literally like a startup in the sense of no one was technical, it was crazy. I had to fight for us to get version control. We used to have to email like literal Python scripts to each other back and forth. so so there's that. But and then after that, once I got bored, I actually moved on to a cloud computing company, and I was a cloud developer for a few years there. Even though and that also operated like a startup. So basically, moral of the story is I try and take on as many different roles and try different new tools and technologies within the company I'm at. Not even a company, the team I'm on, mainly because it just helps me to understand exactly how the product works, how the company works. And then also, I really like having a varied skill set in the sense of anytime I need to pivot, I can do that immediately. I don't even have to worry about it. Like, I will always be safe with a job. That was my thing there. I was like, if I'm going to have to college, spend all these racks just to go to school, have student loans, I'm going to make sure that no matter what, when I wake up, I know I can give me a job. And that actually proved myself. That actually proved to work this past December. I can get into that later. But yes. So when I was a cloud developer, I did many things. So not only was I doing like back end development, I learned DevOps, I learned SRE. I was a technical writer for 6 months because our old technical writer left. So I know how to write documentation extremely well. Like, I've learned a lot of different things. And the thing is, all those have transferable skills, especially when it comes to the data industry. All those things overlap to something else. So I was a cloud developer, boom, that moves right over to data engineering. Also building out pipelines and stuff like that. There's a such thing called data ops, that's like DevOps for data. Um, you know, um, we have to do some type of monitoring tools to make sure our service was up. People can still, reach the service. Boom, that's data visualization. So being able to have those many hats, once you move to another team or another technical subfield or something like that, you see how all that overlaps. And it makes you more valuable when you sign up for a job and you literally know all the skills and the tools that they list on there. And I also use that to negotiate the hell out of every single one of my contracts and any full-time role I apply for. I add 10K on top for every single thing that I know. And that's also what makes me stand out from all the other people that are interviewing. In the midst of that cloud developer role, I took on a data architect role contract, and I only had about three years of experience at the time, and that role was requiring 8 years of experience for someone as a data architect. I blew literally all the other people with more years of experience out of the water. One, because I'd already stood up a learning analytics department. Two, I had cloud developer experience. Three, also, Visa is like one of the pioneers of learning analytics, especially when it comes to building it out. So I literally knew people on a first name basis for the learning data warehouse that company was trying negotiation with for vendor contracts, and had spoke at their conference. So having just being able to be that SME, and then also just wearing so many different hats just to see how everything goes really makes you valuable. And that's why I did it. And then also, I just like learning a lot of different stuff. I get bored very, very easily. So I'm always looking at new stuff I'm always looking and researching articles and stuff like that. That's why you always see me tweeting about weird stuff that's kind of like more in the technical side, or very like into semantics and stuff of like definitions of things, data related and stuff like that. But that's why I wear many hats, and I love working for small teams and startups and things of that nature, just because I also get to make more of an impact. But the pros, oh yeah, and the pros and the cons. So the pros for that, like I said, it's easier for me to pivot into new roles because I pick up topics much easier in the tools. 9 times out of 10, if I haven't used a tool, I've used a sister tool. So it's easy. It's like the fundamentals are all there. It's just different. It's like going to, different gas stations. They all have gas. They might just have different brands. That, and then, like I said, negotiating higher pay is cool. And then knowing how everything is connected, I'm able to actually talk about things on a more technical level. That was actually the hardest thing for me to do in the beginning. I'm not one to use a lot of jargon when I speak. I will say things like, I will just leave things very plain, or I use analogies. Like for SQL, I tell people like, it's not a programming language in the sense of you have to go and use all this crazy syntax like you would with Python or something like that. I tell people, yo, you know how you enter keywords for when you're searching in Google? That's the same thing with SQL. The only difference is you're talking to a database or a data warehouse that stores data. Like I literally explain it to people like that, because what's the point of using all this extra jargon, bro? It's the same thing. It's just like different words. So there's that. The cons of it is that, of course, I'm not as niched in one specific role. Like I can't say that I'm a data engineering expert. I can't say that I'm a data viz expert. Am I good at those things? Yes, because I do take the time to really study, my craft and stuff. But I wouldn't say that I'm an exact SME in those roles itself. And then that can make it harder for when you're trying to land those senior roles. But once again, it just depends on how much you study and how long you stay in that role itself. But that's also because those data visualization and also data engineering is not my end goal. And that's why I wouldn't consider myself at a senior level for those. But I sure am above average, I'll tell you that.
And what is your end goal? Because I know it, but just tell the people in case they're hiring.
Oh, yes. So my end goal, I actually want to be a CDO, a chief data officer. I actually absolutely love building a data strategy and data governance, especially when it comes to building out the infrastructure and strategy for an organization. I really actually like building things from the ground up. As you can see that I did with like Charles Schwab and Visa. And that's really what my specialty is. It's no problem for me to go in and integrate or convert legacy systems into like a modern data stack. And I think that's really what separates me apart, especially since I have a lot of business knowledge as well as technical knowledge.
Okay, I don't know if that was the best sales pitch. That's a talent. You are talented, but also that is a talent. So thank you for sharing. And
Very, very welcome.
if anyone is looking, talk to Kierra, because you just heard all of that. Rhonda, I know you are also talented, and you have, I see an interruption. Here we go. Yes.
See, sorry about that. So I just want to take a pause for a minute and take in all that knowledge that Kierra has just shared. There's a couple of recurring themes for anyone that's taking notes. Being multifaceted, right? So there's a point where you're all over the place. Kierra is not that. So she's mastered some very key specific things that are important in having a data career. So that's one thing. Another thing you heard a lot is visualization. All of us, or most of us, I think, probably everybody here that's speaking, has a strong background in visualization. That's ultimately the key to a lot of what stakeholders and customers and folks want. So you hear a lot about visualization. Network. Again, key terms, key things to think about as you're building your data career. It could be, and I think a lot of us have had rejection, right? You reach out to someone, say on LinkedIn, they don't accept your request or whatever. Keep trying, keep networking, keep talking. Eventually it'll come together. Tenacity and belief in yourself will always pull you through when you're getting those rejections left and right. I started, 10 years ago, 2012. It was very different than what it is now. We have all these platforms where everybody's talking about data. The reason I'm here today doing very well is because I didn't give up. I kept believing in myself. I kept taking classes. You just have to keep at it. So the one thing you're going to hear consistently, again, if you're making a list, tenacity, flexibility in terms of jobs you can have, within the data field, networking, belief in yourself, data visualization as a key skill. So I just want to take a moment to highlight what has been highlighted by pretty much everyone that has spoken. Thank you, Sia. Rhonda, you can take it away.
Yeah, I just wanted to say bye real quick. Sorry, because I have to go, and I just wanted to say I love y'all. Sorry, Rhonda. Buddy, I'm just saying whatever, the peace sign, and that y'all are awesome. And I wish I did have to go, but I will listen to the whole recording. And yay.
Oh, no problem. Nice to meet you. Let's connect offline too.
Yes, please. I already requested you.
Awesome.
If y'all still here after Legacies, I'll come back. Bye.
Yeah, so I didn't have much else to add other than the fact that, I totally agree with what Kierra said, and thank you for summarizing, pulling out some of those key points there. For me, how do I manage wearing different hats? I feel like obviously education and upskilling is definitely the way to position yourself for, future and upcoming things. You have to, in this age and like in this day and age, you have to be able to pivot on a dime, like 100%. I've always been that type of person where I've had 1 to 2 jobs and then pursued some kind of education on the side, whether it's a certificate, if it's a boot camp, or if it's like, undergrad or grad level work. I've always kind of juggled a couple of things. And you have to realize that, certain seasons of your life, you have to push hard to definitely, achieve that next, thing that you want. But that thing has to also be worth it. So to Kierra, like kudos to her for real, because she's definitely put her toes in a lot of different things. And to the host's point, it wasn't just like scattered. I see a very intentional, strategic positioning for her because she knows where she's trying to go. And even for the people who don't know where they're going, I still want to encourage you and say, start somewhere. Like start with the SQL, the Python, data viz, and things like that that's been suggested on this panel. Once you get in, you don't understand like data and tech. They will expose you to so many different things. I mean, when I started as a senior BA, I met so many different people on my Scrum team alone, like QE, QAs, like the UAT testers, and all these people. And then you start to know, like, hey, well, what do you do? Like, we have a team that literally writes release notes for software development. Like, who knew, right? So be encouraged, and definitely, like, I always try to encourage one thing, like people to take inventory on what it is that they like to do and where they would like to see themselves, and then try to get yourself definitely a mentor, network, be authentic. LinkedIn is great in that, you can reach out to anyone and say, hey, listen, I'm interested in this, but be purposeful, right? But also, I just want to shout out the sponsors in our lives, right? So all the Black women or other women or other allies, or just people who just hear your story and say, hey, you know what? I was like you, kid. Let me introduce you to the next person. And then that way, when they open the door, you can show yourself. You can then have the opportunity to show who you are to other people. And that's the only thing I can really round the conversation on.
Thank you. And speaking of sponsors, shout out to all the sponsors that I see over here that are just amazing. You all know who you are. Thank you. So Auntie Kim, you wanted to talk about something that we did not bring up at all, which is how we stay sustained. Do you want to go into that?
Sure, Sia. So I noticed that there's a common theme among a lot of the tech spaces, or a lot of the Twitter spaces about tech and data, what classes to take, what degrees to have, what certificates, what boot camps. But the thing is, women, that we always have to remember, and especially as women, because we tend to, when we are in relationships, take on the I won't call it a burden, but the responsibility of taking care of a family or taking care of children. And while this may not be in your life right now, it might be in the future. And so the reason I wanted to talk about some of the things that I've kind of done over the years to be able to sustain myself is because when I look back on what it was like to be married and have a family, raise my daughter, I put everybody before me, right? So there's that thing on an airplane, you have to put your mask on first before you put it on for someone else. I want to talk a little bit about some things that I've done, and it'll be different for different people, to sustain myself outside of my tech career, because if I'm not healthy mentally and physically, I'm not going to bring my best self to the workplace. And I think there's not enough talk about that. So probably one of the most purposeful things that I did, and this is a personal choice, so everybody's different. I anticipated that my career originally was going to be as a physician. I ended up becoming a scientist, and very happy with my choice, by the way. And one of the things I realized, though, when it was time for family planning, was that one child was probably going to be more than enough. I didn't live near family, and so made a conscious decision to only have one child who has, siblings, and because my husband was married before. And so these are the types of conscious decisions that I think we as women need to think about when we want to think about how do we, quote unquote, have it all, right? So I just thought that you can't have it all. You can have it all, but not all at the same time. And I go back and forth on, whether or not I think that. I think it's really all about leveraging and creating and then leveraging your village. Whoever that is it other moms in the neighborhood? Is it women in your sorority? It's so important to understand that you cannot do this by yourself. And that's okay. It's not realistic to think that you can have this superwoman career, keep yourself in super fabulous shape, nails done, hair's done, everything done, career's done, the kids are great, your husband's, you just can't do it by yourself. So the thing that I want to share most is to don't be afraid to reach out for help. It does not make you a lesser woman if you reach out for help, either if you're single with single or if you have a family. Reach out, create a village. It's really, really important, especially in a tech career. So that's the one thing that I didn't really do. I should have reached out more because I can't say that there weren't people that wanted to support me. I just wanted to do it on my own. I'm not sure what I was thinking, but at any rate, just want to implore you all to use your village. It doesn't make you a lesser woman if you do that. One of the other things that I did, and some of it may definitely give me the bad mom award, and I guess that's your choice. One of the other things I was very deliberate about. So I had my daughter, I was married with a newborn baby. My father was living with us because he'd had a stroke, and then he eventually had cancer. Just a lot going on when I was, in the first 5 years of my marriage, in addition to being a graduate student. But the one thing I was very intentional about was daycare closed at 6. I would get home about 5. My husband would get home about 6:37. Between 5 and 6 was my time. So I would come home, I did not get dinner ready, get homework ready. Didn't do any of that. Didn't pick my daughter up at 5. There were literally many, many days where I would pick her up and she'd be crying, "Mama, you're picking me up last." And I'm like, "Honey," because Mama had to take a bath and soak for a minute, get herself together so we can get that homework done. So the thing I want to say is don't feel guilty and realize the importance of taking time for yourself as you're doing whatever it is you're balancing. It doesn't have to be a family. It could be taking care of other family members. So find time to center yourself, to balance yourself, whatever that means for you. It could be getting off from work and taking a walk. In that particular situation, it was getting off from work, taking a 20-minute power nap, and then taking a 20-minute bath, and then picking up my daughter from daycare. So I want to emphasize the importance, your village and self-care. They will carry you through your career. You don't have to do it all. There's no reason to feel bad about contracting things out. If you can afford it, get someone to help keep your home clean. Go to Whole Foods, get the prepared meals. When your husband comes home, fake like you baked it yourself. I'm just saying, right? So don't be afraid to use the resources you have to make your life as comfortable as possible, because you're going to need these things. You're going to need to remember that you have to take care of yourself. You have to put your mask on first. So I just wanted to share that story, that while having great success in your career is wonderful, it's really more important for yourself as human beings to have balance. And one of the ways that you can have that balance is to not forget yourself. So whatever that is, whatever ways that you relax and celebrate yourself, your alone time, your one-on-one time, it will make you a better parent. It'll make you a better employee. It'll make you a better aunt, make you a better daughter. It'll make you a better career woman. So again, happy to share any more details or any more suggestions. If someone wants to DM me about how I've been able to do it. Like I said, there are a lot of things that I would do differently. Again, I would leverage my village more. I would take more me time and not feel guilty about it. The things that you're doing now as a single person, some things you'll have to adjust to, right? But for the most part, when it comes to the self-care part, do not abandon that part for nothing, for no one, right? Stick to being true to yourself and developing your career and being the best person you can. by recognizing that it's okay to leverage your village, just like you would leverage your village for networking. Do the same thing in your personal life. And I think that's it. I'm off my soapbox.
Oh, thank you for that soapbox. Kris, I see your hand is up. Thank you so much, because yeah, that is definitely a cultural thing and a societal thing. And then you compound it's like really hard to make those decisions to take care of yourself. But I cry on demand, so I'm not going to get into the village, but the village know who they are, and I thank them every day. And Kris, what were you going to say with your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to come from a different perspective because, I'm on team, rich auntie, team no kids at the moment. So for my ladies that's in here, my gentlemen, that's supporting, so, give me some emojis if you team auntie, team big sister, team no kids, because I'm coming from a different perspective of what I want to say. So like, let me know if like y'all team, no kids. Okay, we got a few, emojis. So from this perspective, this is what I want to say for us, for the singletons, or you're dating, or, you're by yourself. It is okay for you to collaborate with other women because you don't have to be in competition with them. So I'm going to say that again for the people in the back pew. It's okay for you to collaborate with other women because you do not have to be in competition with them. So I say that from the perspective that, there are numerous ways. There could be another woman who is around your age, who could be single, who could have her, her girl tribe and stuff like that. But you can still broaden your horizons and have people around you that, are on the level and on the track and the plane that you're on. So from that perspective, if you know that you're trying to transition into data, get a little crew together, you know what I'm saying? And say, hey, we going to meet up once or twice a month. This is what we going to do. We're going to do it Zoom. We're going to do social distance. If y'all outside, whatever it is going to be, do that. But then also like continuously be a lifelong student. Like never stop learning. As we know in technology and in data, things are changing every day. You're learning new terminologies, but most importantly, you want to make sure that you're up to date with stuff. So I feel like I am a lifelong student because I come from a family of educators. So yes, like I'm in this master's program. Kierra knows this. I applied to another one. That's a new one in the data field because I'm like, I want to be, on top of stuff. But for the most part, never stop learning. And then I'm gonna say this last thing because this might touch somebody in a heart space, but this is something my late dad always told me: protect your star player. So that means that when it comes to protecting you, just like, with Cher, focus on your mental health. We as Black women get burnt out too much in this industry. I have been the cause of some of that personally. I have, inflicted things with myself where I was burnt out and was like, you know what, this is not going. And, therapy is great. I'm a big proponent of that. But I want to make sure that you protect your star player. What can you do for yourself? If you got to say affirmations in the mirror, like, on my mama, I'm on my hood, like I look fly, like I look good. If you got to do that every morning, then say that. If you got to say, a city girl affirmation, whatever you need, for yourself, if you got to say that, if you got to do whatever affirmation, if you need a Pop Smoke reference, a Nipsey, whatever you need, like just speak over yourself, speak life into yourself, because you have to protect yourself at all times. And even though it might seem hard, you might not even see the road, or might not see where you're trying to go, always think about, protecting your star player. And, one thing I'm a big proponent of is paying it forward. I'm always thinking about the generation after me. And that's just because the previous generation, I didn't really get that reach that I wanted to when I got into the space. And I always said to myself, like, I'm always going to go back and help the next generation. So whatever it is that you got to do for yourself, do it. Like I said, I'm real keen. I'll give you a Bible verse and a trap affirmation in the same sentence. That's how I roll. Okay. But at the end of the day, if it's going to affirm you, if it's going to speak life into you, have that balance, do whatever you need to do. So like I said, level up, get you, your girl tribe that's trying to do better, continue being a lifelong student, use your Bible affirmations, your trap affirmations in the morning. That's great. And then think about how you can pay it forward and just never stop learning. It's important for us as Black women to have that conversation because we always feel like we got to always be on top, and we put more pressure on ourselves sometimes than the outside world is inflicting us with as well, because we know we have to be the best at everything. We know we got to do this, that, and the third. But that's just kind of all I want to say. So just like I said, if you want to quote you a little city girl scripture tonight, whatever it is that you got to do to affirm yourself, speak over yourself, sis, because you're great.
Kris, I want to just interrupt real quick. So that's a good point about how do you celebrate yourself? You talked about the ways that you celebrate yourself. I do the affirmations, the stickies on the mirror. I have a positivity journal. I have one for woe is me, but then I have another one for positivity. That self-affirmation thing is really important. I would love to hear how the other ladies, what are some of the things that you all do to celebrate yourself?
Rhonda, I think you had your hand up, so you can start us off.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just sitting here absorbing all the wisdom that Kris has just shared with us, because a lot of that really resonated with me, particularly because I try to take intentional breaks in, I don't want to say necessarily my day or my week, but intentional breaks in my year and my life. So, 2020, obviously with the pandemic, we all understand what that was about. But 2021 for me was very difficult in its own way. Because I think at that point, it was a mixture between the collision of the realization of the pandemic and some other losses, but then also like finally dealing with career burnout from like 3 years before, and maybe some of what that bullying and lateral violence meant. And like, so everything, it just like, it was like the Swiss cheese moment, right? For y'all who know Six Sigma and lean stuff. It was just like everything just kind of came crashing down at the same time. And so to Kris's point, like the use of therapy is very important. And I think that as Black women, there's that stigma, that expectation that we have to be 7 times better than our counterparts. And, you have to show up and be perfect. And then, there's cultural things like that. So anyway, as I get off of that box, I'm just teeing that up. I think it's very important that we do celebrate and honor ourselves. And some of the things that I've had to learn intentionally is like giving myself credit for for the things that I've done, not being so hard on myself for the things that I did not know, and just knowing I'm a work in progress. I go in between affirmations. I might use some songs that are uplifting, to Kris's point, whether it's trap music or gospel music or worship music, or, maybe going to sleep to some Himalayan singing bowls, right? Whatever it is that's going to feed my soul. But it's definitely like carving in to your life that which feeds you is important, because let's be real, roles, responsibilities, jobs, they will drain you. Even if you love it, they will drain you because you are giving out energy, creativity, and brain power. And then, life happens, right? There's certain things that you can't control that may weigh down on you as well. And even as you embark in a mindset of healing and mindfulness and positivity and recovery and renewal, all that itself is a work. That itself is an effort, right? So it's just about like, I really feel really blessed right now, because for me, community is everything. Like, it doesn't matter, good day, bad day, money, no money, job, happy, whatever. At the end of the day, as long as I have community and connectivity, if I have a sister I can reach out to and say, hey, look, I can tell you what happened, or I'm struggling with this. Like, just having that open channel for me is everything. And so I'm just, not gonna go there, I'm not gonna cry, but I'm just gonna go on mute right there. That's my submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Kierra, do you want to talk about this? No pressure. I'm actually asking if you want to, because when people ask that question, they're like, "Do you want to do this?" And they really mean, "Should you do this?"
Yeah, no, I can definitely speak on it, especially with because we're talking about celebrating yourself. I can definitely talk about that, because I have been fighting burnout for like years now. I actually had to do a big reset recently and take off for extended time off of work for me, which was like 3 weeks. It was crazy. And then I just took another week off for spring break myself. So just make sure you take time for yourself. Like, do it. It's okay to go on vacation. It's okay to like even do a staycation or even take days off of work. The work is going to be there when you go back, and then also it's a business. There will be all right. That's like, like, I mean, it's a job, even if you like it or not. Like the company, they're on their own as far as figuring those things out. You don't have to be the firefighter putting out fires 24/7, especially if it's burning you out to where, as Kim said, you can't even show up as your best self because your mental health isn't there. I've also gotten into the habit of scheduling massages for myself. I love deep tissue massages, mainly because it really beats the stress out of me. I love that. Um, also, me myself, I will schedule in the middle of the day to go get my hair done. I don't care at that point because, like, just because that makes me feel better about myself when I'm together. Even though I'm not the type of person to be on Zoom and like put my camera on and stuff, it just feels good to have some type of, maintenance going on and stuff like that. So the, the work will be all right if you're going for a half day or something like that. Also, definitely will understand on the affirmations. That helps too. I actually need to get back into it. You can actually find a bunch of podcasts on Spotify and all of them where they actually will do some affirmations for you. And you can basically put them on in the morning and kind of like close your eyes almost as if you're meditating and just listen to them. If you want to even record yourself saying affirmations, you can do that, or just look in the mirror and say them to yourself. It might feel corny or weird at first, but it helps, especially over time. You'll notice how much of an impact it makes, especially from when you start your days off. Um, Also, I know a lot of us are working remotely and working from home and stuff. Investing in like some nice clothes, in a sense of just like not pajamas, but like maybe like some cute little maxi dresses and stuff. And when you're walking around and stuff, it helps. Definitely helps you to get you out of a slump. Another thing is, just want to say, like, celebrating yourself doesn't mean that you have to wait for other people to celebrate you first. Like, you shouldn't have to, oh, my boss they said good job, so that means that I can finally say good job to myself. No. You're going to celebrate yourself regardless whether the task you did was big or small, and regardless if anybody else notices it. Because like, Black women, we're always working super hard, and while it seems like it's never enough, we're actually doing far more than majority of people will do. So, just patting yourself on the back, good job for that. Or either being like, I'm going to go get myself lunch today from some nice place. Things of that nature helps a lot too. And then I also want to add in the point of it's okay to like network across. I know a lot of people like to network up, talk to people that are in the space that they would like to get into and stuff like that. But it's okay to network across and talk to other people and maybe just pull from each other's experiences to see how to level up and do whatever it is that you need to do. Um, but that's basically it for me as far as celebrating. Just take the time. Especially it'll help you to avoid burnout, especially if you start now rather than later. And I say that as someone who definitely understands that you don't want to be fighting burnout for years like I did. Please don't do that to yourself, because you can be burnt out so bad to the point where you will stay in a place that no longer serves you just because you're too tired to get out of that space. That was me for years. Don't be like me. Start now. That way you're able to advocate for yourself. Always advocate for yourself. Start now. Start literally right now. Set boundaries. It's okay to have boundaries and standards for what you won't do, what you will do. It's okay to tell people no if you don't feel like it. Just you don't always have to say yes to everything. You're and also just trust your body, in the sense of your body's going to tell you when enough is enough. Always follow your gut, especially women. We have our intuition. 9 times out of 10, we are not wrong. So just follow that.
Thank you, Kierra. So many gems being shared tonight. Absolutely wonderful panel. I want to add one thing to our conversation about, especially for those who are new and even for those that are already here. And I think it was touched on a little bit. One, about being able to support other women, and two, about not competing with each other. But more importantly, understanding that your path is your own. Someone else may get to, there are a lot of threads about, I was working at McDonald's in January and by May I was making $500,000 for Apple. And I think that's great. But if your path to this career isn't that way, I think that's great too. If it takes you 5 years to get to Apple or whatever your goal is, always keep in mind that you are your only competition. You are your only competitor. Do this path in the way that is best for you, at the rate that is best for you. You don't need to do, I don't have a count for how many times I have started the 100 days of coding and just not finished. It's just not realistic for my life right now. And it's okay, right? Kris, you want to add something?
I was gonna say Rhonda had her hand up first, so I'll go after she goes.
Okay, go ahead, Rhonda.
Thanks, Kris. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I definitely want to co-sign on that. You know, your timing is unique situation because I can't tell you how long. I can't tell you. I chased Deloitte for 5 years on 189 applications, and yet it's funny that I see people say, "Oh, I applied 3 weeks ago and I'm in there," right? But our life paths are carved out for in its own way. You know how you get there, whatever. It's a bigger conversation. But you know what? Net, I'm very pleased with how my life has turned out. The things that I've learned according to that journey. And you know what? There's no shame if you were working at, any kind of retail place making, 15, 23, 40, K a year. Now you have a job that's making 75 or 80. Like, just because you're not making a $120 is not a failure, because think about that, what that change means for your life. And that was one of the things that I was just thinking about with tech. Like, tech is amazing because, I mean, even if you're coding, not coding, doing data, whatever, if you're in that space, do you understand how that can change a person's life? Especially, like, I know we may talk about, how it can improve, women's lives and stuff like that. That can make a difference for a family, in a major way. So don't feel, like you hear these different testimonials, no shade, but you hear these testimonials and you didn't quite come up. I mean, that's the difference between making, bringing in, I don't know, 1,200 a month to now you making 46 a month. That's awesome. That's awesome. Celebrate that. That's, it's what's going on in your life. So I just pass it on to Kris at that point.
Yeah, I have to say that, rejection is God's protection. I am a big proponent and belief of that. I am the most non-traditional Black techie you've probably ever met. I started originally career-wise, like I said, I got my undergrad in psych. I was a juvenile probation officer before I got into technology. Anything that I learned previously, I self-taught and I self-studied, and then I decided to make lateral strides. So, everything that was said about lateral moves, it could happen. But for me, I thought like, okay, how can I use my psychology degree or coursework in the technology space? Okay, well, I know I have to do reporting because, when you're in psychology, you got to do assessments. And then, okay, I can look at decision making, I can look at behavioral stuff, personality stuff. How can I translate that into technology? And that's actually how I did that when I started working for Apple. I looked at that and I kind of took that holistic view and I was like, all right, Apple is a people company. So let me study the hell out of these people. What are they looking for? How can I look at their behavior? What can I look and learn from that? And I've kind of done that every step of the journey. And like, even with getting my MBA and now with sports analytics, like I said, some of the stuff I just knew just from some street knowledge or some just, some, like they say, street code, stuff like that. There was just stuff that I just knew, but I did take the time to refine skills. So like, do not let anybody shame or shade you about your journey and how you started. There are some people who did start, they went the technical route. Like, I thought about majoring in computer science. I wasn't with it. Like, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be in psychology. I had a different goal. I was a different person back then, but I was always a techie at heart. I just couldn't figure out how to combine what I wanted to do. And it came to me years later. Like, I just turned 40 this year. I have no regrets about anything that I've done in my life and even the path that I'm on now. And I'm still going to pursue amazing things. So don't take your journey and what you see what other people doing online, for, as something that you're not where you're supposed to be. And the best analogy I can give this is an Olympic one. So of course I'm a sports person. I think about the Baltimorean Michael Phelps. If you think about his last Olympics, there was a guy next to him in the lane that kept watching him every single stroke. And all the commentators talked about this race. And they talked about how this other guy to the right of him kept watching him. But what Michael Phelps was doing, he was swimming and minding his business in his own race. You got to mind your business in your own race while other people in the other lane swimming beside you trying to figure out what you're doing. Focus on you. Your journey is your journey. Your story needs to be told. There's somebody who can probably be in the same shoes or same, storyline or background that you have that could definitely say, you know what, this is a person I can and look up to. This is a person I can admire. But let's not compare to social media, you know what I'm saying, or things of that nature. Because, you know, just to keep it 100, everybody on social media ain't telling the truth. Let's just call a spade, okay? But, you know, in this instance, you know, focus on where you are, focus on your journey. Don't have any regrets about it. You know, be the person that you are, be who you were called to be. But, you know, don't have any, you know, disheartedness or, you know, regrets about your journey, because you're where you're supposed to be for a reason at the right time. And I can say that with wisdom and knowledge. Like, I'm okay that I'm going into sports analytics at 40. I've really been in it all my life, but oh well, I'm still going to do the damn thing at 40 and then some. And then I have other bigger goals. But just, you know, don't allow people to, you know, put weight or to have anything to say about your journey, because your journey is your own, regardless of where you started. You could be the most non-traditional person getting into tech or data, but guess what? All those skills that you have make you just as qualified as the person applying.
Can I jump in right quick and say something?
Sure, Rhonda.
Yeah, it's funny that you should say about the transferable skills and everything, because you know what? One of the things, I mean, think about it. I was a nurse, right? And even though I had my MBA, healthcare didn't know what to do with a nurse with an MBA, and business didn't know what to do with a nurse, because they figured, hey, we didn't need anybody taking blood pressures in the boardroom, right? So what was your worth? So when you talk about non-traditional, you know, movements into tech, you know, I really have to respect that. Um, and you know, and it can happen. Like, so transferable, the thing I wanted to actually point out was when I transferred into the senior BA role, into that tech product role, the reason why I was hired was actually for my soft skills. My manager, the director, actually said to me, she said, look, I can teach you anything we need to know. I can get you there, but there's certain elements that we need in this environment that you have that we want to leverage. So, you know, things like emotional intelligence and communication and delegation, negotiation, all those things, like, be encouraged. Your skills can make room for you. You know what I'm saying? So that was what I wanted to round that off on.
Okay, looks like Kierra wants to jump in there. So we hear the term soft skills. Actually prefer to use non-technical, because, you know, soft and hard. Somebody gave me some grief once about saying soft. So just as a personal choice, I try to use non-technical skills. So Kierra, do you
Thank
want to
you. I received it.
elaborate?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. So Kierra, you want to elaborate on the non-technical skills?
Yes, I do. I wanted to actually elaborate. I'll start there. Definitely 100% agree with the transferable skills. It's totally okay if you did not come in with a traditional tech background. You actually be surprised at the amount of people that come in from other areas or other industries into data, especially because a lot of data roles actually require something called domain knowledge, and that's basically you having more information, understanding about the business acumen for whatever industry that is that you're working in. For instance, you know, Rhonda, you know, she said she came from healthcare, you know, things of that nature. You can easily pip into like a healthcare data analyst position, and you would actually probably have a good chance of blowing the other candidates out of the water, because you actually know more. You know those KPIs, you know those business drivers, you understand what goes on in the healthcare industry, on top of that technical knowledge that's needed. Because the thing is, the technical knowledge and your technical skills, especially when building out a dashboard, it's only as good as you being able to actually solve the business problem or have any insights on how to solve it. For instance, like if I did not have any understanding of like any type of learning analytics or how people learn, how people think, things of that nature, which came from my actual sociology minor, mind you, and not the actual computer science major, I probably wouldn't have actually landed those learning and development roles, mainly because, yeah, I mean, yeah, I can build out some pipelines and stuff like that. Yeah, I can click around and, you know, drag and drop and create some visualizations in Tableau. But the most important part of that is, hey, do you, like, you know, what does this data tell us that can solve X, Y, and Z? You know, anybody can drag and drop some columns, but it's, do you understand what those columns mean in relation to whatever that problem is? So there's actually a lot of sociology majors that actually transfer into data, just because, I mean, it's a study of people. So that helps a lot. Same thing with any other background. I've talked to car salesmen. I've talked to people that literally like worked retail, or they were in, you know, fast food, and they were able to pivot into those industries as, you know, more technical as data analysts, data engineers, things of that nature. So don't let your background discourage you. for moving into more of a techie role per se, and it actually gives you more leverage, especially because those I forgot what was the word, or I think it's non-technical skills that Kim said. Those actually help you a lot. Communication seems to be the biggest issue when it comes to the data folks talking to your stakeholders, your managers, and things of that nature. This goes back to all that jargon and stuff that people use, those complicated terms. People that don't come from that background, they tend to have an easier time explaining things, or more technical things to people that don't have a technical background, and that's what makes them stand out. Hence the need for business analysts and things of that nature. So yeah, don't let your journey or your background discourage you. In fact, you actually use that as leverage to for wherever your next steps are in your journey. And then also the point that was made about looking on social media, seeing people making XYZ $1,000 a year, it's only their first year in, or things like that. Don't let that discourage you either, because the mission for my model, at least for the data block, is not to get people into six-figure jobs and luxury and buying X, Y, and Z. It's more so about comfortability. I mean, if you're able to pay your, if you weren't able to pay your bills on time previously, but you can do that now, that's great. Like, that's a start. And then also, not everybody needs, six figures or X amount of dollars or things of that nature. Figure out what you need and what you want to live a successful and fulfilling life, compared to what you might be seeing posted on social media. It's easy to think that way, especially because, once you like things, the algorithm tends to show you certain things over and over again. It can easily implant in your subconscious that you need those things in order to feel good about yourself and things of that nature. But I mean, what makes you happy when you lay down at night or when you wake up in the morning? Like, does it matter if you don't really have a Tesla or whatever it is there? Even if you do have the Tesla, is that really all that is the key to life for you? Are there other things, aspects of like your career or your life that you want to focus on as well? So everybody has a different journey. And you should just set whatever your goals are based off of what will make your life easier. You don't need to rush. And I say this from experience. I tend to rush things a lot. I was like, I need to be a CDO in like 2 years. Yo, like, I'm still in my 20s. Like, I'm in my like mid-late 20s. Like, most CDOs, they're going to be like 30s, 40s, stuff like that. So it's okay to take your time and really learn, and also just grow and just appreciate your journey. That'll help you to prevent burnout. Because myself, I love to stack things that I need to learn on myself, and it really just bogs me down, and it gives me anxiety. So it's okay to take your time. Like, these jobs are always going to be there. Even if you don't want a job and you more so want to be an entrepreneur, your skill set and all these things that you can learn are always going to be there. I would say just take things step by step. If you need to break things down and take it day by day, that's totally okay too. As long as you are, a better version of yourself every single day, that's fine. And even if it's not every day, sometimes you need breaks. If it's every other day, once every week, it'd be like that sometimes, as long as you're just getting better.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. So now we want to turn it over to our audience. Thank you again for joining. This was a fire night of great information being shared, of fellowship between women, non-binary folks. Want to make sure we're inclusive here. With that said, we will now take questions from our audience. If there's anyone that would like to ask a speaker a specific question, please raise your hand and I will do my best. Myself and CEO do our best to call on you to speak and share your question with everyone that's here tonight. Are there any questions?
Oh, and if you may request to be a speaker, if you want to like speak it out instead of like sending us a message or tweeting it.
Looks like we don't have any questions for the group. Okay. Maybe we just really did a good job of blowing everybody away. That's great too. Okay, so we are coming on a little bit past our time tonight. So I would like to go around the room, just a minute or two. If our speakers would like to leave any parting thoughts for our audience tonight. Oh, wait, hang on. Looks like we got a question at the last minute here. Who is it? Looks like Michelle has a question. I'll approve you. Michelle, it should come through shortly. Sia, did you approve, Michelle? Yep, looks like she did.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Michelle.
Hi, everyone. I honestly don't have a question. I just wanted to comment. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I joined a little late, but I'm so happy to be here. I feel like I have found my people, and thank you for creating this space. I really wholeheartedly mean that. And I'll be honest, some things that Kierra said really touched me, and Rhonda, because Rhonda's literally me in the future. And not that's no shade, Rhonda, but I'm going in the reverse. So I went back to nursing school after being a PM for the past 10 years. So it's just interesting how life is happening. But Kierra had touched on basically how like our experiences, especially like educationally, are not for, nothing. They are definitely things that can help us in the future, especially as we progress throughout our career. And I really just love that because let me tell you, as much as I'm sitting here in this room with you all right now, and I'm like, dang, I wish there was a space like this 10 years ago, when I was fresh out of college trying to figure it out. But it's like, everything happens for a reason, and my experiences are not in vain, They are definitely the things that are helping me connect the dots, and it's making me very competitive as I'm applying for jobs right now, Most people that come out of nursing school are going to the bedside for the most part, and that's great. But I knew that I knew what I wanted to do in nursing. I knew it was my original major. Long story short, I dropped it and I picked it back up now. So I know what I want to do. I want to work in informatics. And I want to be in the health tech space. I want to be in healthcare, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, let me go apply to a thing, like it's so easy to just kind of forget it, because especially like what she was saying, all the stuff you see online, everybody flossing, I make this, and I live in Chicago, so we have everything here. Oh, I do this, I work here, and it's like so easy to be like, yeah, I want to go back to that. But honestly, I know what I want, my future to look like. I know what I want my lifestyle to look like. I know what I want to be feeling like when I get off of work. So that's what kind of keeps me grounded. And I just love that, there's this space for Black women in tech, not only in tech, but in data. Like, I have been in love with data since undergrad, and I really didn't know what to do with it, like, I love psychology. I love the research side of that and sociology. I've always loved using numbers to tell a story, but I never was able to apply it in a way that I really wanted to. I would use it, of course, in my work as a project manager to, help with the business case or to help a client understand, their KPIs and all that stuff. But now I'm going to be using it to literally save lives, and that really is motivational for me. So I just want to say thank y'all for creating this space. I hope to connect with y'all. I hope to network with y'all. I hope to keep in touch with everyone. I know I sound really high energy, but like this, just getting in this space for the past, I don't even think I've been here for an hour yet. And I'm just like, yes, like I've been throwing up all these hearts as y'all talking. So thank you, ladies. That's all.
Thank you, Michelle. So we have two others who have stepped to the mic. Maria, would you like to ask a question or share your thoughts?
Hi, yes, thank you so much. I hope I'm audible. Maybe I can get some emojis that will let me know that you can hear me. Okay. Thank you so much for letting me speak. I found this through Danielle DeCaio, who was up here earlier, and she's the reason why I was able to see this space. And so I'm so grateful that you're doing this. You're such great messages that I've heard from it's okay to take care of yourself, and it's okay to celebrate yourself. It's okay to learn and take your time it's okay to not compete with each other. And these are all such amazing messages that I think that women need to hear. And being a woman in tech, I'm a community builder. And so I help build community in the data spaces. And I have opportunities that I want to extend out to others that are trying to break into the space or trying to advance into leadership in the space. So if you are trying to do that, I just wanted to connect with you so that you can, so I can offer some of these opportunities out, but I'm so glad that there are spaces like this that are being hosted. So thank you so much for putting this all together and everyone for being part of that, because I know we're only almost halfway through the month of Women's History Month, but I think it's such a difference that I've seen from any other years of having all the women working together on these collaborative, like whether it's Twitter Spaces or LinkedIn Lives or Zoom calls or webinars or whatever they're doing. That's happening all over the place on the internet. I love it, and I just want to support all the women so that they can be successful. And thank you for letting me speak. I will yield the mic.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you for joining us this evening. And Jamila would like to share her thoughts.
Hi, yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you again for having this space available. I joined a little late, so I don't know if this question has been answered or not, but I wanted to go ahead and ask. I heard that some people have come from the medical field. So I've been a recruiting coordinator in a medical laboratory, and I'm trying to get into a tech company as a recruiter. So is there any recommendations for transferring into the tech space? And also, I guess it's kind of like using your non-tech skills to get into this space.
I guess I can take that. So I was actually getting ready to tweet. There's a gentleman that I know that I actually follow online. His name is Jermaine. He's actually a recruiter. So what I'm gonna do right now while it's fresh in my mind, because you know how our minds be going late at night, I'm gonna actually tag you in a tweet with him. He is a technical recruiter for a company. He actually was speaking in the spaces last night that I was listening to. He probably would be a great resource to see how you could have those transferable skills into that space. So I will tweet you his information right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? And also, Michelle, when you were speaking, I see like 3 health informaticists in here right now. One of them being, so there's Kim, Rhonda, Andrea is here as well, part of Black Tide. So there's so many people you could talk to. And oh yeah, Andrea has a newsletter. Just a health data science newsletter. So FYI.
Thank you. I will definitely be connecting with her.
All right. Last call if we have anyone else who'd like to share or ask questions. Also, Maria, please reach out if you have opportunities we can share with our community. We have a Slack as well, so we can absolutely do that. But I don't see anyone requesting to speak. But I guess let's go around the room and close out. Ladies, if there's anything you would like to plug, first of all, thank you. Let me just plug you all. These are all, like, as you have heard, multifaceted women, like not just talented, they have dimensions that don't have to do with what they do, which is great. So thank you for celebrating those with us. And please tell us where we can find you. I'll go by who I see on my screen. So Kierra, Kris, Rhonda, and then Auntie Kim, I'll let you close out.
All right, cool. Thanks everybody for listening to me for like almost 2 hours. I really appreciate it. I mean, you can find me, of course, on Twitter. I am Kierra D. In my Twitter bio, I have the link to my career consulting firm. I guess you can call it the Data Block. If you want to reach out to me there and book a consultation, or if you need like a resume audit or anything like that, that is totally fine. I do that. I specialize in helping data professionals or aspiring data professionals. Also, if you have any like basic questions or anything like that, or if you want to network, just feel free to DM me. I'm pretty nice. Like as Kris said, though, if you come at me disrespectful, if you don't say hi or anything like that, of course, I'm probably not going to respond to you, or I might block you. But I mean, we're all ladies here. We all know how to talk to each other and, introduce ourselves. So it's all good. But yeah, that's where you can reach me at.
As for me, I'm the Black Techie on all social media platforms. I actually switched the link in my bio. I'm big on community and I'm big on text, and things of that nature. So if you click the link in my bio, it says texttheblacktechie.com. If you ever got questions and need advice about stuff, you can text me. It's not spammy. I actually really engage with people in regards to that. If you also have questions about the Ole Miss MS in the sports analytics program, I'm happy to answer any questions about that. You can tweet me about that. You can DM me about that, whatever you need. And yeah, for sports analytics stuff, there'll be some opportunities. And I always share anything I see also too from Kierra. And I got to give her flowers too. And I was hoping she was going to be here. But when I saw the speaker list, I was like, ooh, I hope she's going to be here because, I got to say, I appreciate Kierra. I reached out to her. I booked a consult personally. This was no freebie. I paid for services. Okay. And from the perspective of, just really trying to gauge, just ideas. And she gave me a really great blueprint for what I'm trying to do. And I also recommended, a friend and soror of mine, and she ended up getting a job from Kierra's consultation. So I highly, highly recommend booking with her. And, basically look at people to your left and your right. See who else you can network with. What I'm saying? Follow people that were in the room. Come back and listen to the recording. Support Black Ties. Support all the speakers. I think it's important to us collectively as community, to what Rhonda said, to be together on this journey. So please make sure that you support everybody. And I look forward to connecting with you all and answering any of your questions.
Yeah, and as for me, I can be found on Twitter as at Real Rhonda Mans. You can find me on LinkedIn as well as Rhonda J Mans. Definitely, DMs and inbox is definitely open. I love to help people transition or know. I love to help people figure out where it is that they could possibly go in their career and their passions, and then also how do you actually align your future desires with those aspirations and goals. So definitely you can find me there. And I definitely wanted to say thank you to Kim and Sia and the panelists and the audience as well. I think when the audience member came up and just said, like, I found my community and there's strength in that, it's moments like this that just really kind of give you your second wind, give you your fuel, and it gives you that hope and that encouragement that, all things are possible, and it'll help you get through the day, just knowing that, you're not alone. Others have done it, you can do it too, and that there are people here to support you and help to like close those gaps. That's so powerful, y'all. So definitely, I see a couple of friend requests coming in. Unfortunately, my I had to close my Twitter for some for some safety reasons. However, I will be accepting those things and look forward to staying in touch with everybody in the future. And thank you again. It's definitely a pleasure.
I just want to thank everyone for participating. This was probably one of the best events we've ever had. I'm a little busy right now trying to wrap up this dissertation by the end of August. However, please feel free to reach out to Black Ties. There are a number of us who will be happy to help you with anything you need on this path toward becoming a data professional. We have a website that's in progress. However, you can join us at our YouTube channel. Hopefully we'll be able to get some of those links for information to you through Black Ties sometime before the night is out. Again, you can go to our website. Actually, you can go to our website to find the links to Twitter, LinkedIn, and to YouTube. So what we've done on YouTube is we've taken some videos from, like, for example, this video will be a part of our inventory of videos to help folks interested in careers in data. We also have videos from our previous 2 years of being the overseers of, let me not use the word overseer, being the curators of Black and Data Week. So yeah, be sure to check us out on all of our platforms if you need additional information. Again, I'm going to be super, super busy trying to get my dissertation done. However, I'm looking forward to coming back stronger with this doctorate done later this year for Black and Data Week. And in the meantime, I'm on Twitter, I'm on LinkedIn. like all the other rest of the ladies. And I think we're going to have to do another event like this, ladies. I don't know what you think, but this one's been really great. So might be good to have it quarterly, because I know certainly there's been some ups and downs in my career the past year. I'm in a good place now, employment-wise, thankfully. So reaching out to network is critically important. I say it all the time. It's probably a broken record beyond belief at this point, but the reason I am still in this data career is because of my Twitter family, keeping it completely 100. There were so many times where I wanted to quit, mainly due to microaggressions in the workplace. We've had a conversation on that, so we're not going to leave this on a negative note. However, I have overcome. I am succeeding. I am thriving. And I'm looking forward to sharing future gems with other future data professionals and continuing to grow as a data professional myself. Someone mentioned that this is a constant learning journey. I'm here to confirm that, yes, it is. And to that point about, needing something to do and getting bored real fast, ditto, 110% on that. So this is a career where there's constant learning, which is great, because that means that the opportunity for secure compensation will likely always be in place. And we like the secure, well-paid compensation. So on that note, I want to thank everybody again for participating. Again, reach out to Black Ties through all of our social media. I want to thank our fabulous speaker list, Kris, Rhonda, Kierra. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. Thanks to all of our participants for showing up tonight. We appreciate your support as an organization. We want to wish everyone a wonderful Women's History Month. And with that, everyone be safe and take care until our next Twitter space. Bye-bye.